I personally have really been enjoying the Marvel Studios Ms. Marvel Disney Plus series, especially after those first three episodes. After those first three episodes, everybody was in love with this show, and some people were even saying, like, hey, this could possibly even be my favorite of the MCU Disney Plus series. But then we went into episode 4, things kind of started to go downhill, and then episode 5 here, this is where it gets interesting, because it was a good episode and I really enjoyed it. Like, I had a lot of fun with this episode and I liked where it was going, but I think it's just the fact that this is the penultimate episode. Next week's episode is the finale. So just looking at episode 5 as that episode before the finale, that's what kind of puts a damper on things, because it kind of makes you look at it as like, alright, there's a lot of weight going into this finale, because what even is going to happen? Like, there's not much set up here, and at least not like a clear direction of where we are going. And that's really concerning, especially because that's been the problem with all these Disney Plus series, both Marvel and Star Wars, is just doing the 6-episode run is not working, like, at all. They need more episodes, they need more screen time. It's become a problem, and I hate to see that Ms. Marvel's now started suffering from that same problem. And especially the fact that this episode is only like 32 minutes. I mean, like, it's a rather short episode as well, which is just weird. But just looking at this episode on its own, I think it's quite a good episode. Again, I really enjoyed it. I like what it did. And how it explored the story. Again, it just should have done more. But anyways, guys, I do want to give a quick spoiler warning before we jump into this. So we are going to go ahead and break down Ms. Marvel episode 5 on Disney Plus. Alright, so I do love how we open up the episode with the black and white Marvel Studios logo. That was really cool, because we opened this episode in 1942, where we're kind of going to explore what caused the partition, what life was like during the partition, all that stuff that's been going on here, because the partition has been really interesting to me, because it's such a huge event in Pakistani Muslim culture, but it's something I'd never even heard of before the show. So I've always thought it was a really cool thing that they were exploring in this series, and I like to see that we actually kind of get to see it from the first person perspective in this episode. And it also kind of serves as the origin for Kamala's family. We get to see more about the Bengal, how her family is connected to the Bengal, and all that stuff. So I did think that was pretty cool. But basically we open up with Aisha. I've been pronouncing it wrong this whole time. But Aisha, of course, is Kamala's great-grandmother. She's the one that originally had the Bengal. So we see how she falls in love with a man. They have a baby. That baby, of course, is Sana, Kamala's grandmother. And you see that already they have the Bengal. And this is the only part I'm a little confused by, is how this connects to what we saw in episode 3 with Aisha, Najma, and all the other clandestines finding the Bengal in that temple, because they've never really explained what is going on there. I honestly don't know if they will explain that, considering how much we have left of the show. So that is a little confusing of, like, does that take place before? I mean, maybe if I go back and look at the date, it'll be before 1942. But I don't know. It's just a little confusing and convoluted there, especially, like, we thought there was stuff set up there with, like, the 10 rings and that Kree hand. So, I don't know. I just wish they would do more with that. But anyway, basically, they have the Bengal. Sana is actually playing with the Bengal. And we have this scene where Najma finds Aisha and says that now they can put their plan into action to go home. But then this is when the partition begins. All the Muslims start to migrate. They all want to get on the train so that they can escape from the British. And Aisha shows Hassan, which is her husband's name, her magic. Like, with the Bengal, all that stuff. And it was kind of romantic and kind of cool, like how this whole time he's been saying like, oh, it's like you're magical, and like, you know, she looks at you like as if you're magical, and I can't blame her. Like, that was really sweet and some really romantic stuff. And then, you know, adds nice little later that, like, you know, she's actually magic. So that was pretty cool. Did like that. But Hassan takes Sana to the train, where of course she gets lost, as she does in the story that we've been hearing this whole time. And this is when Aisha activates the bangle. And then Najma shows up. She finds out Aisha betrayed them. She kills her, but this is when Kamala shows up. So Kamala shows up, she finds Aisha, and this is where Aisha dies, but she tells her to go find Sana. So Kamala finds Sana. She uses her bangle powers to, at first, just create her little platform things to hopefully help get her back to her father, but then that ends up turning into the stars that Sana has been describing this whole time of, oh, I got lost, and then all of a sudden these stars, they led me back to my father on the train. And that's exactly what happened here, but we get basically the big reveal that Kamala was the one that did that. So it's a weird time travel bangle thing that's kind of confusing, but also pretty cool at the same time. So I did enjoy seeing that aspect of it. Because then we get our little happy ending there where Sana, she finds her dad, and they get on the train, and they make it to safety. But then this transitions us back to present day, where now the veil has been opened. So this portal between our world and the clandestine's world, which is another thing that they never really developed here, because then the clandestines, they're trying to go back home. They try to go through the portal, but then all of a sudden they like turn to stone and just like disintegrate. So they haven't really given us much to go off of when it comes to the clandestines, like especially after last episode with Waleed, and like basically he was supposed to tell us about the clandestines, their home, their universe, dimension thing, where they came from, but we still don't really even know like anything about that, where they came from, their powers, or anything like that. And now like half of them die right here. And honestly, I think we're possibly maybe done with the clandestines after this episode, because then after this, after most of the clandestines get like disintegrated, Kamala ends up convincing Najma to close it. She closes the portal, but she has to sacrifice herself and she dies. So Najma was supposed to be like our main villain of the show, so she dies. But then when she dies, her power gets transferred back to Kamran in New Jersey. So I am wondering if like maybe he's going to become our main villain, or if somehow Najma is going to be able to come back to life. Because, well, we'll talk about that more in a second. But first, after this, Kamala's mom and her nanny actually show up, and they see that, oh, Kamala has powers. She was Nightlight and doing all this stuff this whole time. And I did really like this, seeing that Kamala's mother now finally knows about this. She's actually super accepting about it. I just love their whole family. Like, she's so wholesome. Like, I just love it. They're so cool. So I love that relationship right there. And then Kamala says goodbye to Red Dagger, and he actually gives her his scarf. And then also after this, Kamala's mom finds her broken necklace, which now is shaped like a lightning bolt. So we've been seeing here kind of the build up to Kamala getting her comics accurate Ms. Marvel suit throughout the series, where we saw back in episode 3, Bruno gave her the domino mask. Last week in episode 4, Waleed gave her the blue fabric that was like part of the culture and like classic to the Red Daggers and that whole thing going on there. And now we have also Red Dagger's scarf, and plus the lightning bolt necklace, which I'm not sure if the necklace is going to factor into the outfit, but at least like the shape, I'm assuming, will probably inspire her with making her logo. So that's really cool. I do like that build up and that eventual climax with her getting that comics accurate suit, because we've all seen what it looks like. I personally think it looks great. I'm excited to see it in next week's episode. So I just think that's really cool. But then after this, we go back home. We don't get to see Kamala go back home, but we do go back to New Jersey, where Kamran finds Brian, and he's like, all right, I need your help. You know, we got off on the wrong foot. It feels kind of weird and awkward. Let's just restart our relationship. I'm Kamran. I'm Bruno. Oh, wait, you're... Oh, I am so sorry. I actually thought your name was Brian. I thought that was a really cool moment. I thought that was pretty funny because that's been a running joke that like he keeps calling him Brian. Turns out he actually thought that was his name. So I did think that was pretty funny. But then all of a sudden, a damage control drone shows up, which of course is the same drones that Mysterio used in Spider-Man Far From Home, and it attacks them. But Kamran shoots it down because apparently he has powers now. And that is where the episode ends. So, definitely a crazy way and crazy spot to end off the episode on, but it makes sense because in the comic, Kamran also has powers as well. So, I'm just wondering where things are going to go from here now, as I was mentioning before. Like, is Kamran now going to become the main villain now that his mother is gone? Because that doesn't really make sense either, because he has, like, no villainous aspects, and they've set up nothing with that. But he did say something about, like, my mother's gonna come back, she wouldn't just leave me, she wouldn't just leave me as an orphan. So, maybe she is gonna come back to life, because the way Kamala basically convinced Najma to close the portal is that, like, Kamran needs you. So then she was like, okay, fine. So why would she then kill herself and knowingly sacrifice herself? So maybe she's still alive, maybe the rest of the clandestines are still alive. I don't really know. It's really confusing and weird, but again, we only have one episode left, and it's just going to be rushed. There's going to have to be so much pushed into this finale. It's going to be insane. But guys, what did you think about Ms. Marvel Episode 5? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. All your thoughts, theories, and predictions for next week's Episode 6 finale as well. And for now, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I can keep it up to date on everything goes on in the Marvel life.